Well, hello. Well, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome in for a chill Wednesday stream. Um, it's going to be maybe a shorter stream. Um, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how we feel and what we want to do. But I think it's a very interesting topic that many people don't don't know about. And why aren't we teaching people this stuff? Why isn't it? I don't know. This is why I'm out here doing what I do. Like, I'm appalled. I only learned about Black Wall Street in 2020. That suspicious. All right, let me get my phone plugged in. See, I've got my phone. I've got my phone on the side, Fedora. I'm always telling her. She's like, I can't see stuff in the StreamYard chat. I'm like, you got to have your phone on the side, mama. I saw Ham and Beans was in here. Creek Native Girl, no worries. I know the struggle of your power going out when it's like, oh, there's 5 raindrops and the power goes out. Sarah K. Oh, don't be stressed, Sarah. Well, we got you. You're in a good spot. Share Bear 52, welcome in. Hecate. How you doing? Thanks for being here. Stephanie C. Oh, how's everyone doing today? So we'll do the usual. I always want to jump right into it because I always get so excited. I'm like, oh my God, yes. So we're going to start off. I can't remember when I learned about the Tuskegee Experiment. I want to say I was in maybe like my mid-teens, late teens, early 20s. So like the end of the 90s, early 2000s. So understand, like, Google wasn't a thing. This information was not readily available. This is when you learned of things very much by, if somebody actually did a TV show or movie on it, PBS wise, which was our Google back in the day. Or maybe, a TV show. Cable was pretty, of course, pretty big at that time. And, your Uncle Joe told you. Somebody told you about it. But yeah, this is something I find to be... This is one of the reasons Raven's always saying... Oops, sorry. I got a nice caramel macchiato. I'm really enjoying it. Sorry. I'm like, let me shake my eyes. This is one of the reasons I'm the very many. I'm always saying, don't trust your government. The government does not have your best interest at heart. They don't. Hi, Illyria. How you doing? Welcome in. Oof. That reminds me. Not you. I heard my little bottle. Everybody take your Advils and your acid reflux medications because that's what I'm doing. I made lasagna for dinner and I didn't eat it, but I made sure Mom ate. Made her a nice plate with a Caesar salad because my stomach is just not... My acid reflux is bugging me today. So... Pantoprazole and Advil it is. Illyria asks, for those of you that are listening, now watching, she says, good evening, and she also asks, Raven, how are you feeling about the Vegas UFO events? Seeing as I live in Nevada, but again, I'm 8 hours away, my first thing is like, damn, one, I wish the dude would have gotten these 8-foot tall creatures on camera. And I have heard other people. There's actually a person I know I want to reach out to and get his thoughts and opinions on it. So yeah, his name is Byron, and I want to, just just kind of get his input and be like, yo, what you think? So, one, I wish he would have gotten the creatures on video. Second, did he get them on video, but it's being kept from the public? Second, I would have probably just thought it was like, because again, it's by Vegas, and they're, you know, the whole Area 51 and just everything in that area. There are a lot of there's a lot of military stuff going on. So I probably would have been 50-50, like, oh, it could be off planet, because UFO doesn't really mean anything to me. For me, there's like, is it off planet or like man-made? Or is it on planet but an amalgamation of the two? I find it very interesting. You can just, unless they hired, which I have heard whispers that, you know, soft disclosure, they've been doing it for years. Unless they hired some phenomenal actors, because you could hear and feel like the guy on the phone was like freaked out. You can tell he was like disassociating, like, I'm not believing what I'm seeing, you know? Oh, pantoprazole, lansoprazole, all the prazoles, Sarah. Pantoprazole works best for me. Oh shit, really? Illyria says Homeland Security apparently set up surveillance in the neighborhood after it happened. I believe it. I mean, regardless of whether it's off planet or some shit from China, you know, which, man, we need to get our shit together in this country. The rest of the world is laughing at us because everyone over here is crying about, you know, they're crying about things and focusing on things, which, you know, to each their own and shit. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is arming up and training up and educating, and like there's a, yeah, I hope y'all, China's going to be running this country in 20 years. You watch. They already are, but I digress. Oh, media is trying, yes. Illyria says yes, and media is trying to say the family is missing, but they're literally in their house. Again, see, don't trust the media, don't trust the government. I'm kind of like waiting and watching as things come out. And if you're going to keep track of this, we can always, like, if you want to, like, send me stuff because I can't catch everything, and we can cover this, like, as it's happening, or you're even welcome to come up here. Like, you don't have, understand, if I'm like, hey, if anybody wants to come up and talk about something, you're welcome to come up for, like, the duration of stream. You're welcome, be like, I just want to come up for 20 minutes and talk about whatever. Like, that's fine. Because, especially if it's something like I haven't had a chance to look at things, or, you know, whatever. Like, I don't trust, I wouldn't let somebody up here I didn't know and I didn't trust, you know. So, but I trust you guys to come up. Just give them a ring and then there they are. Yeah, that's wild. Some weird shit's afoot. Yeah, you know. Again, I'm in the northern part of the state. It's a 6-hour drive to San Francisco, whereas Vegas is 8 hours, and there's literally nothing. Like my sweet friend Zero texted me, I think it was like last summer or something, can't remember when, and she was like, da-da-da-da-da, and, you know, I've got to go to Vegas, and I'm like, great, have fun. And she's like, is there like someplace we can meet halfway? And I'm like, nope. It's like there's literally nothing. Yeah, look up US Highway 50. It's some scary shit. It's weird. So again, don't trust the government. Illyria, let's both keep let's keep an eye on this. And we can definitely like cover it and stream, because we're going to go over more UFO stuff. I haven't decided what to do for Friday. I haven't decided what I want to do. If I want to do like a cultural witchcraft, do we want to do some more like UFO-y type stuff with like different sightings and abduction stories? Ooh, I'm kind of maybe feeling that again. And last Friday's stream inspired me. I haven't ordered it yet. It's in my Amazon shopping cart. That I want to start. I'm going to refer to it as a Book of Shadows, but it's not a Book of Shadows. It's going to be more of like an energy journal and like maybe some, witchcrafty things in there and stuff. Just like my vibe. I'll share it eventually once, I get some stuff in it, and I got some cute washi tapes for it, and I'm very excited. Oh yeah, Skinwalker Ranch is going to have its whole ass. Like Skinwalker Ranch, Skinwalkers, that's going to have its own stream. That is going to be a little while, because there's so much stuff out there. There's so much. I almost am tempted to see if anybody wants to help me kind of like sort through it and like narrow it down, because I always have so many more videos than I use. But tonight I only have 3 set aside, and I'm probably only going to use 2. We can watch the other one if we want. 35 hours. Yeah, well, and that's depending on which way you go. If you go the southern states, or do you want to go more northerly and pick up I-80, which then brings you right into the Reno part of the state on I-80, and then you get to go through the Rockies. So, All right. So tonight is the Tuskegee Experiment. I don't know how many people watching this or on replay have heard of this. And don't forget, sorry, this is such a weird segue. I've got a giveaway going on for, I need to post that on my community tab, for Sarah's amazing sticker that she made. If you want to, it's her art, and it says, hold on, let me pull it up. Let me go into my channel again and pull it up so we can all see. I've got to do Sarah justice. Sorry. So it's Sarah's art in the background, and then she put, I choked on a potato and shit my pants. It's amazing. I'm doing a giveaway for it. If you want to enter the giveaway, go back to the weekly recap from Sunday. Make sure you're subscribed, you like, and leave a comment, an emoji of what your favorite fruit or animal is, just because I thought that was fun, and just say I'd like to be entered in the giveaway. We only have 2 entrants so far, so Jeppel boy. Okay, let me pull this up. Oh, yeah. I'll share my screen, make sure there's nothing personal. All right. I'm at a weird angle for this. Trying to, because I'm right-handed, but my microphone's like on the right side of my laptop, and I need to move this notebook. That's totally not a Three Musketeers bar on my desk. It is absolutely not a Three Musketeers bar on my desk. Oh my God, my voice is great today. My poor voice. I don't know, man. All right, so this is Sarah's sticker. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's 4" by 4". So if you would like to win this, I'm going to do the drawing like Sunday morning before my weekly recap stream. And that's going to be, Sundays are going to be wild. I highly recommend, because I'm starting to not give a shit and talk about who and whatever the fuck I want to talk about, whether they come after me or not. So this is Sarah's Gorgeous Potato. It does not say under the hood. That is me tagging Mr. Snowflake and Jimmy Bunker and trolling them. Because he had on an Amberlynn Reed t-shirt. And I said, wait, here, this is the post. Let me see if I can. See, look. I said, my sticker is cooler than Jimmy Bunker's t-shirt. Because, you know, the YouTubes are fun. I got 22 thumbs up. Look at that. All right. Let's get into tonight's subject matter. So, the Tuskegee Experiment, one of, if not, maybe possibly the worst known, and I say known, as in we know about it. Oh, you got a Milky Way in your KFC drawer? Oh, we have our little stashes. I'm knocking shit over. Wow. Wow. Raven, I need to just. Okay. So the Tuskegee Experiment, in my opinion, is one of, if not possibly the worst examples of how shitty humans can be to each other. Why not to trust your government. How marginalized groups, because this did start in the 1940s. So there are factors of racism, socioeconomic, you know, they chose a poor Black community to do this to. And it's horrifying and it's terrible. And hi, Grateful Life. Welcome in. And when I first found out about this, when I was in my mid to late teens, I must have walked around for 2 or 3 days just in disbelief, but how could that happen? But how could they do this to people? How could I understand now at 44 years old. So it is very fucked up. But again, you know, I think things like this need to be shared and talked about. Because, yeah, it sucks. It's horrible. It's uncomfortable. You know, especially with the racist factors of it. But it needs to be spoken about. Because you know what happens if you don't learn about it? Hi, Kat. Welcome in. You're late. You owe me a Three Musketeers bar. Anytime anyone's late, you got to send me a Three Musketeers bar. No. Y'all, I'm back up to 220 pounds. I need to stop eating the fucking Three Musketeers bars. I need to stick to yogurt. Ooh, feed the starter. Ooh, are you making a sourdough situation type deal moment? So when you don't, and this is what gets me about Gen Z and the new left, right? I get it. They don't want to talk about anything uncomfortable. I got one of the few times I actually got into an online argument with somebody is I'm like, okay, I get not having statues to Robert E. Lee and shit. Remove them. Put them somewhere. And in a museum or something, and explain the history and why it was taken down. And you know, and somebody's like, oh, you get your history from statues, and no, it needs to be destroyed. And it was this whole mindset, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was trying to explain, no, because people need to know about things that have happened, because when you don't know, it's history, the whole history's doomed to repeat itself. Hey, Riri, welcome in. Thanks for being here. I'm sure most of you know Reading in Retail, aka Riri. She's my buddy. We hang out in a lot of chats together. She's great. Ooh. So this is why we're gonna talk about things here, right? Whether it's Wednesday or Friday, we're going to talk about things. Sometimes they're uncomfortable. I understand everybody has their threshold. And sometimes you may need to dip out. Like when we did our first foray into demons, which, again, there's only one Friday in a week. Comment because this isn't, if I can stop running my mouth. Let me know what you guys want to do for Friday. Should we do like cultural witchcraft, which I've got some from like some European countries. We could throw in like more modern Wicca and stuff like that. I keep trying to find a good video on like because even back in the day, witchcraft was considered like people that use like herbal medicines and stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot there. Lil Boots, oh my God, hi. Thanks for being here. Welcome in, welcome in. So let me know what you guys want to do on Friday. I haven't quite decided, but I'm prepared to, we could do, delve into like another aspect of the whole witchcraft thing. We could do, I know there's like the one forest thing. I have stuff in my playlist from the whole UFO abduction, and whatnot. We could cover more of that. And if there's anything specific you want to see, just comment, tweet at me. My Twitter's always in the description. Yeah, apothecaries and alchemists. Yep. You know, I was told that I lived a past life during the time of Henry VIII, which I think is part of the reason I'm so obsessed with him. And I didn't know him, and I was not Anne Boleyn by any means, but I did live during that time, and I was told I was a witch, and my father in that life was like very against it, and he basically like locked me away. It was a whole thing, but it made a lot of sense. All right, let's get into this. The Tuskegee Experiment. So my very brief, if you don't know about this, in the 1940s, there was an experiment run. It was supposed to be for I think 6 months. Ended up going on for decades, right? Decades. It's so messed up. Basically, they wanted to, I forget what, how do I phrase this? Because I don't want to like give it away. It involved syphilis and studying syphilis. And during the course of this study, penicillin came out and they didn't tell the participants. And yeah, and there's a part in here where it's like they got a stipend of $25 back in the 1940s. I did convert it to today's currency. So I will pause when that comes up. But yeah, so first, in order to fully understand the horrors of syphilis, right? Because in today's day and age, it's like, oh shit, I got syphilis. Should have used a condom. Let me go get some antibiotics. We're fine. Not back in the day. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So this is from a channel called Dark Science. I already look at that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a little graphic, just FYI. I already saved another one of their videos for the Sunday weekly Gore World recap about what happens when you overeat, because I was like, oh, look, it's Chantal. All right, let's go.
Syphilis, like the Black Death and smallpox, has earned its place in history as a burden on mankind. Syphilis gained its notoriety for its horrifying 3 stages and caused its victims to go insane, a symptom that famously afflicted Friedrich Nietzsche and Al Capone. With advances in immunology, syphilis no longer poses a threat and is easily treated. Worldwide, there's 6 million syphilis cases reported every year, and most are cured with a simple prescription of penicillin. However, it's worth knowing something about a disease that ravaged Europe for 500 years, caused gruesome disfigurations, and made its victims go insane.
That lady?
This is the dark science of syphilis.
Dang it, wait. Sorry, wrong tab. That lady that was just shown. Hold on. Right here. This lady, she does not have syphilis. All right, and then I'm going to get her off the screen I'm trying to be sensitive, but also that lady does not have syphilis. That is Memento Mori from Victorian times. She unfortunately passed in a fire, because I always try and read through the comments, and shout out to the person that said that, because they're like, this is how she died. They cited their source, rest in peace to that lady. Poor thing. And use the condom. Use the condom. Like Chantal out here running around. Well, I can't get pregnant. You can still get STDs, Miss Mama. Use protection. Especially if you have weak baby gravy. I'm looking at you, Nigs.
Syphilis was first recorded in mid-15th century Europe. It was most common among prostitutes and johns, making the afflicted associated with immorality and shame. It spread to North America in the late 15th century by European navigators who were exploring the New World. Syphilis is caused by the bacterium Treponema pallidum, or T. pallidum, a spirochete bacteria. Its body is not spherical or rod-shaped, but rather shaped like a corkscrew, which helps it to infect its host. Unlike other bacteria, it's not found in nature. Samples of soil, water, and even feces are void of its presence. This is because T. pallidum is a sensitive bacteria that requires very specific conditions to live. If left on a surface, T. pallidum can only live for about 2 hours.
Wow.
In contrast, E. coli, a bacteria found in the human gut, can live on a surface for...
This is crazy. Okay, so, and you'll see that such specific requirements are required for the T. pallidum to live, and wait until they get to the rate of how fast it reproduces. The syphilis, vicious. This bacterium is like, it reminds me of those memes where, like, in Russia, you don't drink vodka drink you. Like, this is fucking badass, man.
For several days. Even in the lab, T. pallidum is nearly impossible to culture. The only environment where T. pallidum is able to live is the human body. Since humans are the only reservoir that keeps T. pallidum alive, humans are the cause of the bacteria sticking around for over 500 years. T. pallidum is not spread through air droplets like the common cold or even regular contact on the skin. Due to its sensitive living conditions, it has to be spread via intimate contact on a specific surface of the body. In this case, intimate contact is defined as kissing or sexual activity where mucosal surfaces, such as in the mouth or genitals, make physical contact.
I'm not going to put up any more comments during this video, and I took my banner down because if there's closed captionings, I try to keep them on, because I know not everybody hears so well, and it's more important that those watching now or in the future, it's more important to me that you can read what's on the screen. So, yeah.
Transfer happens when an individual with a syphilitic lesion touches a mucosal surface or break in the skin. Once on the surface, T. pallidum excretes an enzyme called matrix metalloproteinase 1, or MPP1, which breaks down a protein called collagen, making it easier to burrow into the soft tissue. Mucosal or broken skin is required for transfer of syphilis, as this tissue is soft, very thin, and has less surface protection, making it easier to burrow into. Regular unbroken skin, or epidermis, is hard for T. pallidum to burrow into.
It's like a daddy long legs, right? Daddy long leg spiders. Please don't be scared of them. I have one that's like 3 inches across from like leg to leg right now, chilling on the patio. He's a great friend. He stays there by me. They're great. Fun fact, daddy long legs are actually more venomous than black widow spiders. but their jaws, their mandible is not strong enough to pierce skin. Human skin, it's not strong enough to pierce skin, right? And they're sinister little creatures. And they're good to have around. Don't ever kill your daddy long legs. Put them outside. Let them live and thrive because they will kill the black widows, right? Which I also like black widows too, but whatever. It is what it is. I like a jumping spood. I love jumping spoods. They're so cute. They do little dances. I love them. Um, but the daddy long legs actually get on the web with the black widows and they shake. They use them long ass legs like they're Lisa from Blackpink, shaking the web, and it distorts the vision of the black widow. And then while they're like, the daddy long legs go in for the kill, and then they bite them in like the space between their head and their like thorax area, and boom, done. Isn't that I find that fascinating. I know most people aren't fans of spiders, and like I don't want you on me, but like I said, like I had a jumping spider on me the other night and I picked it up and we made great friends. And there are some Instagram accounts. It's I think it's like Jumping Spood is the name. They're amazing. Please check them out. They're so cute. People actually purchase these for like pets. I can just go outside and I save them and I like to put them in my flowers and my plants and they're great. But yeah, isn't that like such a neat little factoid? Okay, syphilis.
Since it's thicker, rougher, and has acidic oils on the surface that damage the bacteria. Once T. pallidum is in the body, the immune system mounts a response like it would with any bacterial infection, by inducing fever and inflammation. Then after a couple of days, the immune response stops and the body goes back to normal. The immune system thinks T. pallidum is gone, but it's not. It's just invisible. T. pallidum manages to hide from the immune system because partway through the infection, it shuffles a single gene in its DNA, thereby changing the sequence of proteins on its surface. With different surface proteins, antibodies and immune cells are unable to recognize the bacteria, permitting T. pallidum to replicate over several weeks. The first stage of syphilis is called primary syphilis and appears about 3 weeks after the initial infection. Painless lesions called chancres appear at the site where
I always thought it was pronounced canker. Or no, that's spelled different. Okay, maybe chancres. Yeah, okay. Never mind. Sorry. ADHD bird brain.
the bacteria entered the body. Lesions most often appear on the genitals or mouth where there is thin, moist mucosal tissue, or where there is a break in the skin. These lesions contain hundreds of colonies of bacteria and are highly infectious if touched. Chancres heal within 3 to 4 weeks. And after the primary infection, T. pallidum alters its DNA and starts to evade the immune system. In between the first and second stages of syphilis, T. pallidum aggressively replicates throughout the body, but is only able to do so every 30 hours.
Every 30 I was watching this earlier to kind of refresh my memory. Oh, this is sinister how this works. Sinister how syphilis work. I never really knew until I was like researching it for this because I'm like, okay, if we're really gonna understand how horrific the Tuskegee experiment was, and again, some of this I'm sure they're gonna go into it in that video, and I know they do a little bit, but like I really wanted to just like really understand. Damn this. Oh.
Which compared to other bacteria is very slow. E. coli, for example, replicates about every 20 minutes. This slow replication rate is not a weakness, but rather an advantage for T. pallidum. Due to its very slow replication, T. pallidum maintains a low concentration below the critical antigen mass. The critical antigen mass is the threshold for the number of antigens from bacteria or viruses that must be present to elicit a response. Since T. pallidum replicates at such a slow rate, it's able to stay below the critical threshold and avoid being seen by the immune system, thereby allowing it to spread throughout the body. 3 to 6 weeks after the initial infection, T. pallidum has had time to replicate, moving on to the second stage, secondary syphilis. Secondary syphilis is much different and more intense than primary syphilis. Primary syphilis was just a painless lesion at the site of contact. In secondary syphilis, lesions appear on the arms, hands, feet, chest, and back. Unlike primary syphilis, these
look at that. See, in that, I wouldn't know that was syphilis. Because that, I don't know, I guess wouldn't most people look at that and just be like, oh, maybe chicken pox or skeeter bites? But, ooh, yeah. See, use a condom. Also, I didn't mean to hit send. Layla, I have, there's an artist on Etsy. I have an Edgar Allan Poe and a Golden Girls that are like zombified. Sean Langley art. He's great. Love him.
The lesions are extremely painful and highly infectious as they harbor the treponema bacteria. Other symptoms include fever, enlarged lymph nodes, hair, and
yeah, shingles. Okay. Other symptoms include fever, inflamed lymph nodes, hair loss, weight loss.
After about 4 weeks, the secondary phase resolves, and T. pallidum enters a prolonged dormant phase, where it remains inactive for as long as 15 years.
15 years! That is some sinister James Bond, like, this is freaking me out. And I'm thinking back in the day of like a lot of the royals had syphilis, and it eventually like makes you go crazy, as we heard in the beginning. And I'm wondering like how many crazy politicians like way back in the day and like royalty were running around with crazy syphilis brain making decisions, and everybody had to listen. Sinister. Wow. Listen, I have been single since 2014. It's going to be 9 years this September since anyone has touched me, and I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm good. And even then, it's like the other person is going to be in an entire Tyvek suit. Just put the Tyvek suit on and we'll do what we can, because at this point in time, nope, don't touch me. Nope.
After secondary syphilis, the worst appears to be over. There's an absence of symptoms for several years, and health is not seriously affected by the dormancy. Yet, T. pallidum is waiting in the shadows to inflict its worst damage in the third stage. Between 10 and 20 years after the initial infection, T. pallidum reactivates, initiating tertiary syphilis, the final and most destructive phase. Once reactivated, the bacteria infects an oddly specific area of the body: walls of blood vessels. Infection of the vasculature or blood vessels causes chronic inflammation, which appears as large growths of inflamed scar tissue called gummas. Gummas range in size and grow in soft tissue, causing gruesome disfigurement.
Ooh. Yeah, I remember it was syphilis. Was it syphilis? That like I remember there was a point where it would like make like their noses and stuff come on, and so they would take a flap of skin from their arm and like sew it to like the person, usually a guy's face, and he would have to walk around like that. It's crazy stuff.
If they grow large.
I'm talking, this is like back in the day, maybe like Victorian times, early 1900s, maybe.
Enough. Infection of the blood vessels causes twofold damage to the body. The blood vessel itself and the organs that receive blood from the vessel are both affected. Inflammation in blood vessels causes calcification, or the buildup of calcium in the walls of the vessel. Calcification makes blood vessels narrow and reduces blood flow, meaning less oxygen and nutrients are getting to the organs. Two systems in the body that are dramatically affected by this are the cardiovascular and central nervous systems. The cardiovascular system in particular is affected by T. pallidum because it infects the walls of the thoracic aorta, the largest artery in the body. The thoracic aorta extends.
And as we're watching this and I'm hearing all these things, I'm thinking of all the men in the Tuskegee Experiment. That, because they just didn't have it. Their wives were infected, obviously, or people they went on to marry. Then the guy had it, infected his wife, and then they had children. So listening and seeing to all this, my mind, it goes, My mind thinks about all those people and how fucked up that is. And that, like, 6 months into the experiment, penicillin came out. They didn't bother to tell him. They're like, nah, we'll just keep doing it. Why? Because they were poor and they were black. Oh my God, we're not even. Oh.
Extends from the heart through the chest and into the abdomen and carries a significant amount of blood. Like other blood vessels, the thoracic aorta undergoes calcification in its vessel walls, reducing blood flow in the largest artery in the body. Calcification also affects the aortic valve, which controls blood flow into the heart. Calcification around the valve makes the valve stiff and does not.
Oh God, look at that. I know it's just an illustration. I'm sorry. I'm an emotional burp. I'm very sensitive when it comes to stuff like that. So, sorry. I'll get it together. But look at this. Oh. Wow. Wow.
Fully open, thereby reducing blood flow into the heart itself. Additionally, due to the chronic inflammation, the thoracic aorta becomes engorged with fluid, known as an aortic aneurysm. All of these effects reduce the heart's performance, causing palpitations, fatigue, cardiac infarction, and even heart failure. The central nervous system is also damaged by vascular inflammation, owing to the symptoms of insanity. Nerve cells have a very low tolerance for hypoxia or lack of oxygen. Even a small reduction in oxygen can damage or even kill neurons. As nerve cells receive less nutrition, signaling between neurons becomes sporadic, causing partial paralysis in motor functions, most notable in the limbs and eyes. Regions of the brain such as the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, which deal with emotional regulation and logic, start to deteriorate. This affects sensory, memory, and interpretive functions, manifesting as personality changes, memory impairment, hyperactive reflexes, and hallucinations. In the past, these effects were misdiagnosed as insanity, but in reality is the brain gradually malfunctioning from decreased nutrition. As tertiary syphilis progresses, damage to the vasculature gets worse, and the central nervous system deteriorates further. Nerves associated with touch sensation degrade to where the arms, hands, and feet cannot be consciously felt. Paralysis of the muscle becomes so severe that standing or walking is no longer possible. Death eventually occurs from either heart failure or neurological complications. From the first day of infection to death, syphilis can be as short as 10 years or as long as 30 years. Today, syphilis is not something to be concerned about, as it's easily treated with antibiotics. Victims in the past who suffered from these dreadful stages suffered because they went untreated for their entire life. With modern medicine and treatments, this rarely ever happens. Sometimes science can be seen as difficult, foreign, and even boring. Yet, there are times when science grabs our attention and draws us in, yearning for more answers. Often, what draws us in are topics that are dark, macabre, or terrifying. It's with the intention of this video that you too were drawn in and sought to have your questions answered. Thanks for watching Dark Science.
Yep, that is the name of this channel. I was perusing through their hold on, let me go and grab their link. I was looking through, like, all their videos and stuff they have out. And like I said, I saw that one came up on my feed, like, what happens when you overeat? Because I want to know, because Chantel is always overeating. Oh, I'm so excited for what is it? Sunday? Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be great. All right. So let me grab the link to this, and I will throw it in the chat. Give me 1 second. Yeah, they're a really good channel. Please subscribe to them. Go give them a view. They're great. All right. There's them. Okay, so. Isn't that horrifying? Like, absolutely horrifying. We're going to take a little breather. Just to kind of just breathe. Wood? Who's talking about wood? Touch wood. What kind of wood? You guys. No, I know I'm that way. Well, I used to be that way. I'm a lot better now. Now I'm the person where it's like I'm bleeding about the head, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'll take an Advil and lay down. But medical PTSD is a thing. So, oh yeah, is it Nick Yak Wallace have chlamydia? All right, so horrifying stuff, and I think it was so horrifying because it can lay dormant for so long, and there's no outward signs of it. And all right, so let's get into. Let me pull up the video. And I appreciate, as always, all of you being here. All right. So we've got, I think it was this one I had decided on, because I've got Plainly Difficult, The Dark Side of Science, The Horror of the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. And then I've got Disturbing History, The Tuskegee Experiment, Twisted Human Experiment. And I think I decided on the Plainly Difficult one. Oh. All right, and it is 23 minutes long, and I figured that was long enough. So, yeah. Pinewood, Birchwood. You guys are so funny. I love you guys. I appreciate all of you being here. Even if you just, pop in or you're listening. Because, I listen a lot and I'll be like doing stuff. And then when I can, I'll sit and chat. So, all right. Pause my music. So this is going to be, like I said, this is a lot. But again, I think it's very important to share this. Not a lot of people are aware of this, or like kind of know about it, but not really. And I think it's very important to know that our government did this. And like I said, I understand there's definite socioeconomic and racial aspects to this, because there's no way they were going to do this to white people, even if they were, poor white people. Poor people are poor people. I don't care what color you are. I grew up poor. I grew up very poor. My family was homeless at one time. Poor is poor. Period. But yeah, there's no way they would have even attempted this or gotten away with this in anything other than a black community back in the 1940s. And it is so beyond messed up, but that's what the government does. Like I just had my doctor's appointment yesterday, and he's still going by, oh, well, the CDC and, so many milligram equivalent. And I was like, whoa. Keep in mind, I've been with him for 20 years. I said, are you still going by that? I'm like, is that you, or like the umbrella of, the medical group he's with? He's like, no, they don't require I do that. I said, so then why are you? I said, have you read the new literature from the CDC that says those morphine milligram equivalents don't apply to people like me? Because my pain's not getting treated for the level of pain I'm in. It's getting treated to some fucking algebraic equation on paper, essentially. And I'm like, no. What we're not going to do is that. And I was like, you need to read the new literature that came out and adjust accordingly. Those guidelines were never supposed to apply to chronic pain patients, the terminally ill. Like, no, that's supposed to apply to people that, it's like, I had a tooth pulled. Okay. Here's like a couple of Vicodin for a few days. Here's like 9 Vicodin. 3 day for 3 days should get you through it, because the third day is always the worst day after injury, um, surgery. Because remember, surgery is nothing more than controlled trauma. That's all it is. It's just controlled trauma. Third day is always the worst. But yeah, no, it's thanks CDC. Fucking, they messed everything up so bad. Anywho, that's another stream we're going to talk about on a Wednesday, and I'm going to go off because. All right, let me share my screen. Again, this is the dark side of science, the horror of the Tuskegee Experiment. And I will throw up the channel link here in a minute. Let's get to playing.
Unethical human experimentation can conjure up the images of horror and pain inflicted by Unit 731 or Dachau or Auschwitz.
I've been watching a video on Unit 731. I haven't gotten through it yet. That might be so. It's like a good little stuff like that is like good for like a Wednesday night where it's like, here's this weird fucked up thing. Let's talk about it.
During the Second World War. But although Germany and Japan were the most well known for their inhumane experimentation during the early to mid 20th century, they were most certainly not the only perpetrators of suffering in the name of scientific discovery. Other experiments on humans have taken a much more subtle route than that of the Axis powers, running in democratic Western countries, preying on the poor, racial minorities, and or prisoners. The experiment orchestrators would draw in potential subjects by offering free medical help and or financial incentives. Such an experiment between the 1930s and 1970s would cross the line well into an unethical study. And although not as blatantly gruesome as a vivisection on a subject, would actively hide the diagnosis of a debilitating disease and withhold treatment from its victims, all to find out how a person would succumb to said illness. The experiment orchestrators would draw in potential subjects by offering free medical help and or financial incentives. Not only that, but the disease in this study, syphilis, which not only can be deadly, is also easily transmissible.
So they wanted to see what was going to happen to people, right, if left untreated. Again, targeted poor Black community. I can't remember if it was this video or the other video, but they would get stipends, payment every so often. One of them was $25, which is equivalent to about $450, $500 in today's money. And then I think like once a year they would get a $50 stipend, which equated to about $900 to $1,000. Because you got to keep in mind, like a gallon of milk was 47 cents. You know, eggs were like 7 different money. Yeah, money. So, and yeah, I mean, damn, if, you know, I'm sure these people that lived in poverty were like, oh, well, you know, do this. Oh, yeah, they're not going to do anything like super bad to me or whatever. I'll let them pay me, you know, essentially $500 to do whatever. It gets worse.
From sexual contact with an infected person, even being able to be passed on from mother to unborn child. Today, we're looking at a truly dark page in infectious disease study, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. As such, I'm going to rate it here 9 on my ethical scale. Although it didn't have as many victims, this is most certainly up there with the lobotomy.
Hey, Creek. Welcome in, welcome in.
It is 1932, and enrollment has begun on a new study. The participants are all African American males from impoverished backgrounds. They have been convinced to become participants by the promise of free lunches, transportation, and medical care. The initial groundwork for this enrollment came from an earlier study funded by the Julius Rosenwald Fund. and conducted by the US Public Health Service during 1928. It took place over 6 counties in Alabama, USA, and highlighted hotspots of syphilis infections in Macon County in the town of Tuskegee.
Macon.
The aim of the Rosenwald study was to find a population perfect for an attempt of mass treatment for the debilitating disease, and the largely African American inhabitants of Tuskegee seemed like the ideal testbed. It was estimated that around 36% of the 27,000 residents in Macon County were infected with syphilis, giving the area a syphilis prevalence among the greatest in the United States.
Because remember, antibiotics were not a thing, obviously. Safe sex was not a thing. You just, willy-nilly, just out there doing whatever.
The funding for mass treatment would never come, as it was widely thought at the time that syphilis affected different races in different ways.
Oh, what? Whoever was of that school of thought, yeah. Stupid. I can't use the word I want to use.
And could often remain dormant in African Americans. Most bizarrely, it was also thought that at the time, African Americans would not even want to seek treatment, even if offered. Needless to say, these assumptions were wrong. This distorted view was influenced by the racial segregation laws of the time, which made African Americans essentially second-class citizens in the southern states. Mass treatment was also...
Oh, Creek, I am highly debated. Well, I'm trying to accumulate more info as it comes out, which there's still a lot coming out about the you-know-what. And they're not even like, I've had blood clots. These are not blood clots. These are like weird rubbery things forming in arteries, not even veins, because blood clots form in veins. And I don't know, every time I open specifically in my laptop, my like little Bing whatever Explorer page thing I use, there's always 2 or 3 people very young that have unfortunately passed away. And I'm like, that's weird. Again, died suddenly. If you can find that, and I need to find where it's at and share it and post it, watch that. Oh no, I said as soon as I heard Lunar New Year 2020, as soon as they're like da 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 and brr brr brr, and the great panini started, I was like, oh, I said that is weird. And you watch, in 6 months there's gonna announce, oh, we've got the cure, don't worry, you're safe, we're gonna save all of you. Nope. Like I said, anybody ever wants to come poke holes in me, you're more than welcome to. I will. Hold on. I'll poke holes back in you, except mine are a little bit bigger.
Also not considered due...
And yes, that was the handle to my... I got my belly band on. It's great.
...to a lack of funding, as by 1929, post-Wall Street crash, money was not available, especially for a largely impoverished African American population. With no state match...
Absolutely. Email me, and Creek, I'm going to work on that thing for you. I have the data myself tomorrow, so, and I'm going to work on that thing for you, sweetie. Love you so much.
Matching funding, the Rosenwald Fund also withdrew its money for the treatment program. The report into the findings of the 1928 investigation was written by Public Health Service Officer Dr. Taliaferro Clark. But with no government funding, the project found itself at a dead end. With no funding to treat the ill, Dr. Clark found that the results.
I think it was the other one I liked better and that I wanted to watch, but we will continue with this one. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit. Or, no, I feel. Okay. You know what? Let's go into the other one because I felt like this one was just kind of. I liked this one better. All right.
From 1932 until 1972, a study into the effects of syphilis on untreated African American men was conducted. Those enrolled into the study had no idea they were even taking part in the experiment.
Sorry. I'm special burp.
Had no idea they had syphilis and were even denied any form of medical treatment for the disease, instead given placebos. No consent was sought, and instead, the researchers took great lengths in keeping their subjects enrolled and in the dark about their conditions. In today's video, we will cover the reasons why such an inhumane study was undertaken, just what occurred, and what were the consequences. It is perhaps helpful to start with a brief explanation of what syphilis is. We do have a more in-depth video into the disease for those who are interested. Syphilis is a bacterial disease that is largely contracted through unprotected sex, though it can be passed from mother to child in utero, resulting in the child being born with congenital syphilis. It is often called the great imitator, as the symptoms of syphilis can be dismissed as other illnesses. These include fever, rashes, or swollen glands. At first, the disease will present itself with lesions on a person's genitals. This may be all a person experiences. However, without treatment, the disease may progress with skin growths akin to venereal warts and flu-like symptoms. Whilst these symptoms usually pass within a few weeks, they may come and go over the months before they fade. Even if the symptoms fade, the person will still be affected. This is known as latent syphilis, and it can persist for decades and lead to serious problems if not treated. During these stages, syphilis is still contagious, even if no symptoms are displaying. The final stage will come if the person is not treated and is potentially life-threatening. The disease can also affect and damage a person's brain or spinal column, which can even lead to blindness. People with this final stage of syphilis may experience meningitis, strokes, and even dementia. By the early 1930s, it was believed that those of European descent experienced syphilis different to those of African descent. It was thought that African Americans did not suffer with neurological syphilis, as they were seen to have comparatively inferior brains, whilst the more developed brains of the white person were more susceptible to the condition. It was thought that syphilis would remain dormant in an African American's brain and not cause as much of a problem. And even if it did, it was a...
I don't know if I've ever said this. I believe for the most part, because of my belief that the Anunnaki came down and created humans in a lab, right? And trust and believe, I fully understand that those humans were not white. Okay. And I am grossly simplifying this. I firmly believe that and always have and just have always kind of known, like, the African people that come from melanated races and areas of Earth, right? Those with the melanin, black people, your brown people, they are stronger and superior on a genetic level, on a physical. I think they have a very much because I'm not explaining myself very well, and I don't want to say anything that's going to get, I'm sure I'll get myself in trouble anyway, but I don't know. I have always felt and inherently known that, yeah, I don't know, just They are, a couple of notches genetically and physically above everybody else. They just are, because I believe that, you know, they're just the stronger ones. I'll leave it at that.
Widely held belief at the time that African Americans would refuse treatment anyway. Nevertheless, in 1929, the Rosenwald Fund sought to establish a treatment program in a number of southern states. The goal was to identify those
Do you mean in the Syphilis Creek native?
with syphilis and offer treatment. At the time, syphilis was widespread amongst poorer African American communities, many of whom did not have access to medical care. But by 1932, the state's governments withdrew funds and shifted their focus onto a now infamous study. Relying on the goodwill generated and deceiving people into thinking they were being seen by Rosenwald doctors, researchers began to gather unwitting subjects for a new study. The official name for the study was the United States Public Health Services Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. 399 men with latent syphilis and 201 without were secretly enrolled into the study, all without the men's knowledge and informed consent. Most of the men were poor, often working as sharecroppers in the economic turmoil following the Wall Street crash. It was advised that these men would receive free medical care, as well as a free meal and transport to the testing sites. Many who asked whether this study was linked to the Rosenwald efforts to improve people's health were deceived into believing this reasonable misunderstanding. In reality, no meaningful treatment would be offered. The goal was to see just how syphilis affected.
Nope. But for years, and they'll say later in the video, for years they gave them placebos, and oh, this makes me so mad. But again, it's very important to know.
African Americans, and so those enrolled were kept in the dark about their true diagnosis. Many were told they were suffering from bad blood, a nondescript catch-all term for a whole host of diseases. The researchers wanted to ensure the syphilis would not be treated by a third party, so that the disease could run its full course. Instead, the researchers purported to treat the bad blood, making the men think they were being healed.
And I have heard still to this day, so many older Black people are like, "Oh, she's got the bad blood," and it's like, and then the younger ones are like, "Grandmama, that's not a thing," but that's what they were told growing up. "Oh, you got the bad blood," just like in general. "Oh, she gets sick a lot." "Well, Grandma, she's got an immune deficiency." No, she just got the bad blood. It's like, I get it.
When in fact, the true cause of their illness was left untreated. The men were given disguised placebos, as well as.
And look what's in the background. Vicks Vapor Rub can fix anything. You ask any Hispanic mom, she will go straight to that one cabinet in the kitchen. We all know that cabinet in the kitchen. And she's going to have a Costco-sized tub of Vicks. Anything that's wrong with you. You get a concussion. And that mom's going to be like, rub some Vicks on your forehead. It'll fix it. I know. That's how I was raised.
As mercury rubs or injections of bismuth, which would add to the facade that they were being treated. The true goal was to obtain blood samples and subject the men to lumbar punctures so that the researchers could monitor the progress of the syphilis. It was, however, more desirable that the researchers have access to the dead bodies of the men, and so to encourage the men to give over their bodies when they die, the researchers offered burial insurance and money for their time. But to make sure the men continued with the study, the researchers employed an African American.
Oh, no, absolutely. Sarah K says, I feel like there's also a lack of sex education too, then and now, for varying reasons. Like Catholic school was okay with education, but I didn't know shit until public school or college. Like we were just taught abstinence until marriage. Don't worry about the sidestep. Dude, go. Creek, that Vicks Vapor Rub. Yeah, and you'd think it would be better now. You know, I mean, we had some basic sex ed in when I was my junior year, when I was going to high school. I spent a semester in Texas. But even then, of course, we had it at my school in Chicago, and I went to the library, you know. Was it like 6th grade when I've got my first period? So I went and I looked it up, and like my mom had taught me, and of course, you know, the birds and the bees and all that. But I went and I looked up, you know, how does my body work? What's going to happen? And then with sex ed, and keep in mind, and I was talking with somebody earlier today about AIDS. And I'm like, people don't realize like how big of a deal it was back in the day. And I might do a little Wednesday night stream about that, to just be like, y'all don't even remember. Like, I remember, I was talking with somebody the other day, and they're like, I love Princess Diana, da, 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 da. And they brought up, they're like, I don't get why it's such a big deal. Like, why was she a hero for hugging that person that had AIDS? And I'm like, this was like what? The mid to late 80s? You didn't do that. You did not do that. We didn't. And it was in a Twitter thread. I was like, you didn't do that. We didn't know how it was spread. We weren't sure at first. And even then it was like, oh my God, you know, it was like, ugh. People didn't understand you could get it through blood transfusions, unprotected sex. My mom worked in a laundromat. This gay couple came in for years. And all of a sudden, they both started getting sick, and then one died. And then the remaining partner saw him in Woolworths one day, and he broke down and told my mom. He's like, I know I keep telling everybody I'm dying of cancer. He's like, I don't have cancer. He's like, I've got AIDS. He couldn't tell people what he was really dying from because it had such a stigma attached to it. And this was probably 91, 92 by that time, because I graduated 8th grade in 92. And his partner had passed. They had been together for like 20 years. Built a life. They were both, I believe, successful attorneys. Wasn't allowed to see his partner before he passed because his partner's family did not approve of him being gay and living as a gay man. So the last 2 weeks of his partner's life, his family, when he avoided going to the hospital as long as he could, because back in the day, HIV/AIDS was a death sentence. And he avoided. He's like, I'm going to die anyway. I'm going to wait as long as I possibly can, because they both knew once he was admitted to the hospital, they couldn't see each other again because his partner's family did not allow it. Because not only was this before gay marriage, which I'm 100% for, I don't even think they allowed back in the day, because before gay marriage, it was like once you were with somebody and established, you drew up papers, you know, power of attorney, wills, just basically all of the things marriage automatically allows. Gay couples would have to have those papers drawn up to make sure that, you know, shit like that didn't happen. So again, off topic, sorry.
American nurse named Eunice Rivers. Rivers was one of the first black women to become a registered nurse and by all accounts was a gifted practitioner. For the full 40 years of the study, Eunice remained as the point of contact with members of the black community as a way to ensure the trust of those involved. It was Rivers who would both deliver the free medical care offered to the men.
Part of me wants to stop and be like, girl, how could you do that? How could you do that to your own people? How could you do that to people in like, girl, what? I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid and I don't get it. I don't know.
Throughout the duration of the study for minor injuries, as well as providing the participants with the useless medicines and placebos. Rivers' role into the study is doubtlessly controversial, even when the power imbalances are taken into account, made all the more difficult by little in the way of evidence as to her mindset. A link will be in the description to an interesting article which looks at her role in the study for those who wish to read a little further. But it's fair to say that whether or not she knew her role in the study, she was one vital part of putting the men's minds at ease to allow the study to continue. At the onset of World War II, the researchers feared what might happen should their participants be drafted. Aside the obvious risk of death associated with war, the draftees would have faced a medical examination, which would have revealed their syphilis.
Hi, Hammy. Welcome back in. Yeah, this is fucked up. I mean, they'll make sure they don't get drafted or go to war. You know, because they can't have their experiment getting fucked up. But this viscerally makes me want to punch a hole in the wall.
Syphilis, with a subsequent recommendation to seek treatment. In order to avoid both possibilities, the researchers were able to obtain draft exemptions to ensure the men remained in the study. By 1947, the widespread use of penicillin as a cure for syphilis ought to have meant the men be offered the drug. However, no such offer was made. Instead, the men were kept in the dark and their syphilis was allowed to spread. As the disease can be spread through sex and from mother to fetus, a great number of the men's partners wound up infected with syphilis. When such women fell pregnant, it was not at all uncommon for the children to be born with congenital syphilis. 40 women are known to have been infected, and 19 children were born with the disease as a direct result of the researchers' disregard. However, there very well may have been others infected, both partners unaware of the presence of syphilis. It was not until the late 1960s that someone in the CDC started to question what was happening in the Tuskegee region.
Fuck the CDC. The CDC, the WHO can kiss every inch of my fat ass.
Research. An epidemiologist by the name of Peter Buxton had learned of what was happening. He was appalled and sought clarification. Once he learned of the full scale of what was happening, he leveled several complaints to have the study shut.
Although, shout out to this guy, he did try being like, hey, yo, hey, Vinny Barbarino, hey, Vinny Bag of Donuts.
Down on the grounds of its unethical treatment. He tried again following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., pointing out the political volatility of the study at such a time, and he was still ignored. Fed up of being disregarded, Buxton turned whistleblower and leaked details to the press. In fact, in 1969, the CDC met to decide whether the study should continue or not, and they affirmed its importance. On the 25th of July 1972, the story was published by the Washington Star and was met with public outrage. It soon found its way to the front page of the New York Times. A congressional hearing was launched by Senator Edward Kennedy, which brought the matter to light. By the end of the study, only 74 of the original group were still alive.
Grateful Life, you're welcome. There are other things, other topics, even if there's stuff I don't know about, or you're like, hey, you guys let me know. Again, I think it's very important that things like this are talked about and they're known about. Just because, one, like, this is fucked up. Rest in peace to all these gentlemen and their wives and their family and their kids. It's messed up, and I think things like this need to be shared and talked about. Uncomfortable things need to be shared and talked about so that we can remember all of these fellow human beings and share their story and educate ourselves in general and educate ourselves to be like, wait a minute. And again, I'm going to refer to the fucking jab. I see so much fucking correlation between, that and this giant experiment that people weren't aware they were a part of. Sound familiar? Information being kept, being lied to. Yeah. Strange.
At least 140 or so dying from syphilis or complications arising from the disease, a great many of which were completely avoidable. For those still left and their families, a class action lawsuit was filed by the NAACP with attorney Fred Gray. In an out-of-court settlement, the United States government agreed to pay.
The way he said that was weird because obviously he's not American. It's the NAACP. I don't know why he pronounced it like that, bro.
Around $10 million and to provide free medical care to surviving participants and their family members. As a result of the awful treatment those enrolled faced, the United States passed the 1974 National Research Act to regulate the use of human research subjects. It also created the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research to develop guidelines for human subject research and to ensure standards were kept. It's important to remember, however, that following the end of World War II, a number of Nazi doctors were put on trial for their crimes of inhumane experiments on unwilling prisoners. The Nuremberg courts established the Nuremberg Code in
Fuck that. The Nazi doctors were put on the American payroll. And that's something else I do want to cover. Again, very difficult to talk about, but a lot of people don't realize there are so many things we know about, gestation and pregnancy, human anatomy. Where did we learn all that stuff? From the vile, inhumane, grotesque experiments that the Nazis did. But do you know how much medical information we got out of that? And it's so messed up. And I've been watching a lot of stuff about all the South American. There's just like these little time capsule of like German towns in South America because they liked it there, and the climate was similar to Germany. And yeah, their Operation Paperclip, yo. We're gonna talk about it soon.
In 1947, which set out key principles.
And Grateful Life, yes. I don't blame a lot of people I know how to get the vax because they're like, my grandmother's in a nursing home. If I don't get it, I can't go see her, which was bullshit. In fucking New York City, your vaccine passport. I want to go out to dinner. Well, I guess I'm eating at home. I understand people that got it to keep their jobs. And now it's like, oh, sorry. We shouldn't have fired people that didn't want to get it. It's... I had people threaten to come shoot me in the head for saying on social media, I don't trust this. Most things are tested 10 to 12 years via the FDA, and even then it can be a little sketchy McSketcherson because money talks. And I guess people didn't understand like that had emergency authorization. Didn't mean it was safe, and it sure as fuck wasn't. They this gentleman recently passed. I need to start finding a way to save these clips. he did an autopsy, right, on a 28-year-old man who she died died suddenly. I think he had one of those gnarly blood clots. That's not really a blood clot. It's like a rubbery mass, but whatever. And an older gentleman who was 63 years old. They found in both of these gentlemen, especially the 28-year-old, okay, healthy, young, reproductive age, there was no semen in his testes for which to reproduce. You know what there was? Spike protein. It was all spike protein. Which is, I don't know, what's the term? Hammy, I'm sure Hammy knows. The mechanism or the whatever of how the jab, I got to be careful what I say on the YouTubes. Yeah, spike protein. Great. And everyone's entitled. This is one of those things where I'm like, it's not, it's everything. It's the logic of it. It's the common sense of it. It's I know there's a video out there. I just need to find it. I'm sure somebody's made it, of how it changes, of how the CDC and everything changes from, well, if you get this, it's 100% effective and safe, and it keeps you from spreading it and getting it, and you only need the one. And then it was like, okay, well, now you need a booster, and now, it's like the efficacy kept dropping. There is a video out there. I can't remember who did it. The efficacy kept dropping, but yet you needed more boosters. And do you know how many fucking people I know were like, I was fine until I got the second booster, and I haven't been the same since? Or they're like, I got the second booster and I stopped because I wasn't feeling right. Ham, yeah, it's they're saying they're finding spike proteins in men's testicles, and there's no semen, there's no sperm, no semen, but there's spike proteins. So yeah, and I bring that up because, again, this all ties in for me, right, with the Tuskegee experiment, kind of. And the fact of, it's like, here you have the government, some agency that's like, oh, they wouldn't lie, they wouldn't, and here they are doing horrible shit to people. Isn't it funny that a law was passed that you can't sue pharmaceutical companies? Isn't that fucking weird that happened?
That researchers must adhere to for ethical human experiments. Chief amongst these was that a person must provide fully informed consent to any such experiments. Clearly, in the case of the Tuskegee experiments, informed consent was the last thing researchers wanted to obtain, lest it interfere with their work. And yet, their study was flawed from the start. On a purely scientific analysis, the study failed. The goal was to study the effects of untreated syphilis, and yet, treatments, however ineffectual, were given. Any data that could have been compiled was worthless. In 1997, the Clinton administration formally apologized for the government's role in the study. This came about.
Bill Clinton also apologized for MK Ultra, fun fact.
Following a symposium held by the US Public Health Service, which concluded an apology was deserved. A special center was built at Tuskegee University for public education about the study, as well as one for education of proper ethical treatment of human subjects. But for many in America, trust in medical research and of doctors has all but been destroyed. To this day, it is difficult for researchers to encourage African Americans to take part in studies. The memory of Tuskegee is still alive. After all, this study ended only 50 years ago, well within living memory for many. The Tuskegee study, whilst not as visceral as some of the more depraved experiments found in the death camps of World War II, cannot be disregarded. The researchers preyed upon poor, disenfranchised, and racially oppressed men to answer racially motivated questions as to how syphilis affected black people. The damage was done to not only those involved, it also reached out into their families and into their communities. Such considerations were immaterial to the researchers, but it is important to remember that Tuskegee was not just an isolated incident. It was part of the wider, racially motivated disregard for the medical well-being of African Americans. When we look to such examples...
Stop that shit. Why? That's so fucked up. What was wrong with these people back then? Look at somebody just because they're black and think, oh, you're inferior. It's so fucked up. It's... wow. I'm not even going to go there.
Examples of inhumane experiments, we must never forget how such studies could take place and how the role of othering a group of people, whether it be along racial, religious, or class lines, can result in such horrendous atrocities.
Oh, the horrifying history of foot binding. Oh my God. That is... ooh. All right. So that's what happened in the Tuskegee Experiment. Really fucked up, really sad, infuriating. It was definitely a product of its times, but that shit's still going on today. Look, Layla G, my lungs got affected. I'm so sorry, hon. There's a lot of people I know that, have had a lot of adverse effects, and it's finally coming out and being recognized that people have died. People have had adverse effects and injuries, permanent, fucked up, messed up injuries from this. And you watch, more and more people are just died suddenly. Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? But I'm telling you, it's all population control overall. And how far can we push things, and lockdowns, and vaccine passports, and yeah. Do we want to watch the other one again, Creek, and see if and again, not every video is going to have everything in it, but we can go in and finish watching up that other one if you want. Let's do that, because Creek feels like there's a lot missing. So let's go back to the other one. Maybe it's going to cover, because this one was a little longer. All right, so let me share my screen and we'll go back to this one. And hopefully there's a little more detail in this one.
Program. The report into the findings of the 1928 investigation was written by Public Health Service Officer Dr. Taliaferro Clark. But with no government funding, the project found itself at a dead end. With no funding to treat the ill...
I could tell you I do not have Creepy Dave pulled up tonight, because I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll have it pulled up Friday, but I just felt like this was kind of a bit of a heavier subject matter, and I don't know. I want to be respectful. I'm so sorry. Creepy Dave.
Dr. Clark found that the results provided an unusual opportunity for observation of the disease. By 1932, Clark thought that the results of the Rosenwald study merited a revisit, and he began preparing to find test subjects for a long-term observation into the progression of syphilis in African American males. The new study would be considered by the Public Health Service as a classic study in nature rather than an experiment. Although either way you looked at it, the participants would be observed.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to pause. I need to bump it up a little bit because my pain level is shooting up very quickly. No. Oh my God. Okay.
Actively not treated for the disease. The key for the experiment to work was that the subjects would not know that they are infected.
Okay.
And thus not
All right. All right. You know what? The link to this is in my description. Let me get to Creepy Dave. We'll do some Creepy Dave. And God, my entire freaking news page. This person died. This person died. This person died. Jeez Louise. All right. It's a Creepy Dave. Is it Frank? All right. Share this tab. Creepy Dave. Let's close that out. All right. Shorts. Do we want Creepy Barber? Do you want Creepy Dave? Creepy Barber? A Creepy Barber? I like a Creepy Barber. We're going to play my favorite one then first.
It's a Creepy Dave.
It's a Creepy Dave.
Today is my favorite best animal called Crappy Barbara. As you can see, Crappy Barbas have a sort of monkey face. They don't have no nose, but they have scary eyes, like a demon. Sometimes Crappy Barbas stare into space. Maybe think about killing a chicken. I don't know. Oops. Creepy Dave make mistake. It's not a demon monkey. It's just second face of Crappy Barbie. But the world is dangerous.
Dangerous. These are... Okay, I could be wrong because I'm only familiar through my Animal Crossing island, but I know this. It's a kind of fruit. It starts with, is it with a Z? Yeah. Creek, especially because like it's like me being from Chicago, you know, or even living out here. You're definitely going to be more familiar and know more. But again, a lot of this stuff, it depends on what I can find. Even if I was to edit a video together, a lot of this is, I just want to get the information. Like, I just want to be like, hey, did everybody know this is a thing? And I think most of the videos I pull from what I know of with stuff hit on like, I guess like the major, important points, but yeah, there's always going to be some stuff that is left out or in the wrong order, or it's not accurate. I know, guys, I know. Just work with me, please. Work with me. I do the best I can. All right.
Many are made into Crappy Barbara lemon soup. Others must fight their worst enemies, the Bergs. Don't do it, Berg. Don't. Oh, he did it. Many hours later, we see the Berg eating the remains of the vanquished Crappy Barbara. It's sad. This is why it's best animal. Okay, bye.
Yeah, no, that fruit, it starts with a Z or... I want to... See, I get mixed... I would just want to think of the girl's name from Twice, Chewy, which is spelled Tzuyu, but I know it's not that. I don't know. I'm, like I said, my pain level's shooting up real quick. All right. And we're going to go...
I have been a caregiver for my grandmother for the last 8 years, and we have used several products over the years. But if I had to whittle it...
I love Chris Ponsalon. He lives in Henderson, Nevada, outside of Vegas, and I love watching him because he's a caretaker for his grandma. And Tuesday. She's so stinking cute. Grandma's OG. All right. Let's do the new one-linuses.
That is Creepy Dave,
Creepy
Animal
Dave.
Show. Okay. Lionses is probably like my favorite animals. There is two kinds of lionses. One kind of look like a cat. The other one looked like someone dressed up like a cat. Like for a party. But then he could only afford the mask. Anyway, it's sad because they are endangered. Maybe they fall in holes or the people eat them. Just don't eat them. And they come back. Anyway, lions is called King of the Jungles. I mean, that's a pretty crappy jungle right there. And there's like no trees. Looks like the jungle you get when you're like buying a hamburger. And someone come up and say, hey, you want to buy a jungle? Meet me in the parking lot. And this is what you get. Crappy jungle. Creepy Dave.
Creepy Dave. Oh my God. All right. You were right, Hecate. See, let me tell you something. You need to know Hecate is always right. She's always right. She is. She's always right. All right. So thank you guys for hanging out. And again, I appreciate everybody being here. And I knew, Wednesdays, shorter little stream. But Asian fruits starting with the letter Z. No, it's yuzu. Y-U-Z-U. It's a yuzu. See? I keep thinking of freaking Zooey from Twice. Oh, why is my brain like that? It's a yuzu. I knew what it was. Yuzu. Yuzu. So I will be back Friday night. Let's do some more alien type stuff. There's the one I had the video. It's in my playlist. Strange is gonna know what I'm talking about because I think it was in her neck of the woods. Like it's out by Stonehenge. And again, always keep in mind, these are especially like Wednesdays and stuff. But some of these topics are just it's meant to be like, hey, did you know this is a thing? Or I find this interesting, or I think this needs to be talked about. I do the best I can with what I'm working with. Not everything is going to be accurate. Not everything is going to be included that, it's just the way it is. There are some topics that there's just so much to it. And you have to remember when things like this are being made and produced, you have to trim things out or you're going to have a 50-minute video when you're allotted a 20 to 30-minute video. So you do have to pick and choose, stick to the more major points on things. So just, it is what it is. That's why I always include all the videos and I'm like videos I may use. But I will be here Friday night. I may try to start an hour earlier. We'll see. So it might be like 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We might have more dog barkage in the background if that's the case, but oh well. So yeah, let's continue with some alien abduction type stuff because I would like to do like cultural witchcraft, like modern day what does modern day witchcraft look like in various cultures? You know what I mean? I think that would be fun. Because, again, I really want to take my time with voodoo and Santeria, which are each going to have their own streams. So I do have some more videos pulled up and saved for like the alien abduction stories. If there's any one that you'd like to see me cover, I know there's like it's not like the Redfield or the Renfield Forest one. There's a couple. So I know I've briefly covered Betty and Bernie Hill. So yeah, okay, my brain's not working because pain. All right, I appreciate you guys being here so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this out, let people know we're over here. Let them know we're over here. And again, that giveaway's going on. Illyria, I saw you enter, and I will announce the winner during my Sunday stream, which I'm hoping it'll be a little bit earlier in the day. I don't know. But we'll be here and we're going to talk about some shit because, yeah, I need to get myself together. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. I will talk to you later. I love you so much. Okay, bye.